And to anybody who wants to take a look at the recording on YouTube, we're going to be at, let me grab the link. I'm putting it in the chat right now. Okay. All right, so if you want to participate in the YouTube chat, you can go over there. Please keep in mind that we want to keep it on topic. Thank you very much. All right, let's start today's session. So please take a look at the slideshow I have over here. So this is Linux Operations Basics, going to be part 5. We're talking about file systems and permissions. So this session is going to be a little more information focused than the other ones, but let me assure you that you will be doing some challenges as well. So you're going to get some chances to do some hands-on keyboard time. So let's just review the commands that we learned previously. So we learned about the ls command, that's going to list out the directory contents. The pwd command, that's going to print the working directory, or that's going to get where you are inside of the file system, which directory that you're in. We learned about the cat command. The cat command lets you read files. So if I say cat the file, that means you read the file. So it's going to be cat and then the name of the file. We use the cd command to move around to different directories. So it's going to be cd and then the name of the directory you want to go to. And the mkdir, the make directory command. So we usually make directories when we want to solve challenges to make sure that we're keeping all of our files organized. So we use the wget command to download files. Of course, when we use the wget command, we're going to need to get a URL where the file is in order to get it. The rm command is going to let people delete files. Most of the time, we don't really delete files very often, but sometimes we do. We use netcat sometimes to connect to servers. Usually that has to do with the CTF challenges. And we use the grep command to grab text out of the output. So if we output something and we want to grab a certain word, we can use the grep command. We use the find command to look for specific files inside the file system. And we use command piping in order to chain commands together. So if we want to chain one command into another command, we can use the pipe. So the pipe is this character right over here. We learned about terminal text editors. We used the nano terminal text editor to create a file, and we were able to edit the file and type a bunch of things. We use terminal text editors a lot when we're editing files, so we might go over that briefly today as well. So we also learned about base64, which is a type of encryption. Well, not really encryption, it's encoding. So sometimes you'll see some funny looking strings over here, text strings, and we can recognize that these are in base64 format because sometimes you can see that they have equal signs at the end, and that's an easy sign to tell that you're dealing with some base64 encoded stuff. Okay? So something new that we're learning today is the help flag. So any of the commands inside of Linux has a help flag that you can run along with it. And that's going to let you see some a little bit of description about how to use the command. So everybody at this time, let's go over to our JS Linux. So I'm going to grab the link for the JS Linux and I'm going to provide it to everybody in chat. And I see that I forgot to copy the link to everybody for the YouTube. So if you want to take a look at the YouTube, I also supplied the YouTube link over there. All right, so when you have access to the JS Linux page over here, and you see root at localhost, please type JS Linux up. Okay, in YouTube, TB the Star says, I'm watching YouTube, not Zoom. Okay, that's not a problem. I I hope you have fun watching the YouTube. All right, so I'm going to wait for a few more people to report JS Linux up, and then we'll get started with that. But basically, we're talking about the help flag over here. So basically, you can type any command inside of Linux, and then you can add a -- help, and then you're going to see some information over here. User RH says, did you add more YouTube tutorials for this week? Yeah, there are going to be more YouTube tutorials for this week. So if you go over to the YouTube page, you can probably see them. All right, so a lot of people have their JS Linux up, so let's do a little demonstration. So everybody, so for example, if you want to get the help information for the cat command, it's just cat and then -- and then help. And that's going to give you some information about the cat command over here. So first of all, it has this usage over here that's very useful. It says cat and then option and then file. And then it shows you all the different switches that you can run with the cat command in order to have it run in different ways. So most of the time I don't use these, but it's useful sometimes when you want to get some different output out of this. Remember that anytime you want to go back up to the top, user P says they need help. User P, if you could tell me what your issue is, I can try to help you. Okay, so user F says, hi, I just joined. Can you explain anything I missed? So we're just going over to the JS Linux machine. So I will give you a link to the JS Linux machine, and you can go ahead and go there. All right, so anytime you want to go back up to the top inside of Linux, you can just give the clear command, just type clear, and it's going to send you back up to the top. So likewise, if you wanted to know more about the ls command, you could do ls -- help, and that's going to give you a bunch of information about. Okay, so user AD says, I put cat -- help, but nothing works. Try cat -- help, but put the -- help along with the all together. So let me demonstrate one more time. So it's going to be cat -- help, just like this. So you don't put a space between the help and the dashes. So you can do this for some other commands. You could do ls -- help, and it'll teach you how to use the ls command. So most of the time I don't use the -- help because this is kind of an old-fashioned way of doing things. These days, when I want to get help for any of my Linux commands, I just go to ChatGPT over here and I ask, what does the Linux ls command do? And then it's going to tell me. Okay, so user AD says it works. User P said that they need help, but if you could specify what you need help with, I could help you out with that. All right, so that was the help flag, and we'll be talking more about that later. So let's move on. We've got a little bit more to talk about today. So next, we're going to talk about Linux file permissions. So inside of Linux, you can assign files with different file permissions, meaning that some users can read the files, some users can write the files, which means create the files or modify the files, and some users can execute the files, meaning that they can run the files. So this is what these three letters mean, and you can see this if you go over to your JS Linux, and let's see, I'm going to go back up a little bit, and then I'm going to clear, and then I'm going to do ls -la. User UF says, is it cat -- help or cat _ help? It's -- help. So the dash is the minus sign on the keyboard. You can locate it beside the 0 key usually. All right, so please give the command ls space -la, and that's going to give you your That's going to give you your directory contents in a list form, and it's also going to show you the file permissions. So you can see here that this little grid over here on the left-hand side shows you the file permissions inside of for these files over here. So remember that the dot over here refers to the current directory. So these are the permissions in the current directory. You can tell that this is a directory because there's a letter D over here, stands for directory. And then we've got a bunch of letters over here. So let me explain what the letters mean. So there's group 1, which is the first 3 letters. There's group 2, which is the second 3 letters. And there's group 3, which is the third 3 letters. So these are read, write, and execute permissions, depending on if they're group 1, the file owner, group 2, the group owner, and group 3, any other user. So most of the time, you don't need to pay too much attention to file permissions, except if you don't have permission to do what you want to do to the file. So most of the time, you just need to pay attention if something is readable or writable or executable if you run into some problems. So, but most of the times, you do have access to what you need to have access to. All right, let's move on. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about some different directories inside of Linux. So the typical Linux file system has a bunch of different directories you can go to. User Aft asks, are we going to do picoctf today? Yes, we will be doing picoctf today, but we're going to be doing it a little later. First, we're going to study a little bit about Linux and how it's organized. But in a little while, we're going to be starting out with our picoctf exercises. All right, so we've got some different directories over here. So we've got the etc directory. This is where system files and user passwords are stored. There's the var directory, where log files and database files are stored. The root directory is typically the file with the most secure access. So root is also a username inside of Linux, and the root user is the user with the most file permissions in the system. So the root user is sometimes called the super user. And there's the /tmp directory. All files here are deleted on a regular basis. And lastly, there's the home directory where individual user account files are stored. So let's explore a little bit inside of our JS Linux over here. And in order to explore a little bit, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a new user inside of our Linux system. So over on this page, oops, not this page. This page right here, we've got our notes for today's session. And inside of the notes, there's going to be a header over here saying make a new user in JS Linux. And then there's going to be these commands over here. I'm going to give everybody the link to this. So please go to the link over there. And after you've gone to the link, there's going to be just scroll down until you get to this section right here, make a new user in JS Linux. So what you want to do is you just want to highlight this command over here. It starts with the word user, and it ends with this word over here, visudo. So just highlight all of that, and you want to right-click and then select copy. So right-click, highlight this, and then right-click it, select copy, and then go over to your JS Linux tab. And in the JS Linux tab, you want to right-click and then select paste. And that's going to select this command over here. And then after you've pasted it in, you want to press enter to run the command. So what this command does is that it adds a user called HackerFrog to the system, and it sets the user's password to frogpass over here. So to the people who are asking what to do one more time, I'll demonstrate one more time. So what you need to do is you need to go over to this link over here, and I'll provide the link in the chat. And inside this link over here, you're going to want to scroll down until you see the making a new user in JS Linux. And then there's going to be this command over here, which starts with add user add, and it ends with visudo. So you just want to highlight everything over there, and then you want to right click and copy the command. Then you want to go over to your JS Linux tab, and then you want to click on the window and then right click and then select paste. So after you do that, you press enter, and that's going to create a new user inside of your JS Linux system. Okay. All right. So to check if the user has been created, I want you to do this command. So it's going to be ls home, ls space / home, and you should see a HackerFrog directory in there. So if you do ls space / home and you see the HackerFrog directory in here, please type HackerFrog online. Okay, I see quite a few people have HackerFrog online. Great, great, great. User F says, for some reason, it's still loading for me. Is that bad? Okay, so to user F, I want you to wait about 30 seconds, and if after 30 seconds it still hasn't gone through, what I want you to do is I want you to reload the page. Oh, okay, so user F says it's done now. Great, great. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to explore some of these directories. So you've used the cd command to move over to directories before, but this time you're going to use the cd command a little bit differently. Now we're going to be navigating to directories that are kind of far away from where we are currently. So what you can do is cd / home. So it's going to be cd, and then we're going to give / and then home. And that's going to put us into the home directory. So if we do pwd, we are in the home directory. That's what it says over here. And the home directory is where all of the user home directories are. So if we do ls, we'll see that we will see that the HackerFrog directory is in here. So we can enter that directory. We can actually specify the directory very specifically by doing /home / HackerFrog. And now we're in the HackerFrog home directory. So if we do ls, we see that it's empty because we haven't put anything in here. But when we do pwd, we see that we're in the /home / HackerFrog directory. All right, another directory that we want to take note of is the following directory. I'm going to clear first, and it's the temporary directory. So if we go over to cd /tmp, and then we pwd, we see that we're in the tmp directory, and in the tmp directory, there's usually a bunch of junk files. So ls space -la, and there's usually a bunch of files that are being used by other programs in here. So in this case, I see this. In your case, you might see something else. But this is where a bunch of temporary files are stored. So stuff gets written here and stuff gets deleted here all the time. And as soon as you turn off your computer or you power down the system, then everything in the TMP directory is going to disappear. So another directory that we want to pay attention to is the root directory. So we can cd /root. And now we are in the root users directory. So the root users directory, the pwd, usually has is the most secure location on the file system because only the highest level user can get access to it. So if we do ls -la, then we see all of the all of the files inside of the root users directory. And this is actually the directory that you start off in when you use JS Linux. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to become another user. So we created the HackerFrog user just now with our command that we pasted in, but we're going to learn how to switch over to the other user. So let us look at the presentation. So before we do that, we're going to learn about sudo, the super command. So the sudo command can be added to any other command, and it allows the command to be executed in the context of the root user. So if you take a look at JS Linux right now, and you ask, who am I? So this is kind of like an existential question. It's, it's all about identity. If we ask, who am I? JS Linux has you logged in as root by default, which means anything we do inside of JS Linux, it's not going to stop us because we're the highest level user. So we're root right now. So I'm going to demonstrate how the permissions change when you switch over to a regular user. So HackerFrog is a regular user, and we created the user on the system. So we're going to do the following command to switch over to the HackerFrog account. So it's going to be su for switch user, and it's going to be HackerFrog. That's the name of the user we want to become. So su HackerFrog. Let's see. User AD says it didn't work. I'm not too sure what you're referring to, user AD. If you could tell me specifically what didn't work, I can give you some help. All right. So we're going to switch users over to the HackerFrog user, su HackerFrog. And then now our prompt over here has changed. Instead of root at localhost, it says HackerFrog at localhost. So right now, we do pwd, it says we're in the root directory, but because we're a regular user, we can't use the ls command. It says cannot open directory, permission denied. So why can't we use ls inside of the root directory right now? Does anybody know? Okay, user ww says because we don't have clearance. Actually, that is completely correct. So the HackerFrog user doesn't have access to the root directory because the root directory can only be accessed by the root user. So we're the HackerFrog user, so we don't have access to the root directory. But if we use the sudo command, we can, so we do sudo ls, so it's going to be sudo goes in front of whatever other command we want to. If we give this command, it's like we're saying we want to do ls, but as the root user. And then it's going to give us a little message. We trust you have received the usual lecture from the local system administrator. It usually boils down to these three things. Number one, respect the privacy of others. Number two, think before you type. And number three, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, thank you very much, Uncle Ben. And then it's going to ask us the password for our HackerFrog account. If you remember, we created the HackerFrog account with the password frogpass, frogpass. So when we do sudo, we have to give our password. So we're going to give our password frogpass, and then it's going to let us see the contents of the directory. Okay. So everybody, if you manage to use the sudo command successfully and you put in the password, please type in the chat sudo me. Okay, user RH says, what is the password? The password is frogpass, just like this, frogpass. So it's going to ask for the password when you use sudo, and the password is frogpass. Okay, so we're going to move on to our challenges in a little bit, but before that, I think there are a couple of slides left. So sudo needs to be used whenever we try to access or modify system files or directories. So sometimes we're going to try to read a file that is sensitive, or we're going to try to modify files inside a protected directory, and it's going to say permission denied. Usually, we can use the sudo command to run that command anyways, but it's very important to understand why something might be denied to a regular user and why we might want to use sudo to get around that. So one more example. So there's a special file inside of Linux systems that's called the shadow file. So it's going to be cat/etc/shadow. And what this file is it contains the password hashes for all of the users on the system. So let me demonstrate. So when we try to read this file /etc/shadow as a regular user, we're not going to be able to do so because this shadow file is owned by the root user. So we can get around this the same way. So we just run the same command, but we use sudo in front of it. So if we run this, then we're going to see there's a bunch of user accounts in here, but there's also some password hashes. So the root user, their password hash is right here. And so this isn't the actual password. This is what's called the password hash. So this is what happens after the regular password is passed through a hashing algorithm, which is a type of encryption function. And we can see that there's also the HackerFrog user right here. And this is the HackerFrog user's password hash. So you remember the frog pass password? So frog pass is turned into this password hash after it's been encrypted. So, but hackers, what they can do is they can grab this password hash and they can try to crack the password using a special program. And that's how they're able to get people's passwords. They have to grab the password hash and then they need to crack the password using a special program. And that's how they get people's passwords. All right, so just before we start our exercises, so if we need to use sudo, we should always try to understand why we need to use it. So this is a command right here that's going to delete everything in your file system. It's and so if you delete everything on your file system, the file system isn't going to work. It's rm-rf and then / So normally you can't run this command without sudo, but if you run it with sudo, it's going to delete everything in your file system. I've never really tried this before, but because I don't like to deal with fixing systems that are completely broken. But if you were to ask ChatGPT, what command in Linux deletes the entire file system? It's going to give you an answer. So this is the command right here. It's going to be sudo rm-rf and then / for the entire file system. And I would tell you all to try to do it as an experiment, but but we might want to use the machine a little bit later. So let's not do this. But this is the reason why the sudo command exists. It prevents people from accidentally doing really bad things on their Linux systems. So the reason we have to understand why we have to use sudo in certain situations is because if we're trying to use the sudo command, it usually means we're interacting with sensitive files or directories. All right, so let's move on to our exercises for today. We've got a couple of them. And the first one is going to be over here. And it's called the Wave a Flag Challenge. So inside of picoctf, make sure you're logged in and then navigate to this page over here. So I'm going to go to picoctf and then I'm going to open up my web shell. And I'm going to click on this button right here, and this button is going to pop out the web shell terminal, and it's going to let us have our web shell in its own browser tab. So click on that. If anybody has any trouble opening up their web shell, just let me know, and I'll try to help you out. So after we open up our web shell, we have to enter your picoctf username. I am the Shy Hat, and I have to put in my password. So user AS says it's telling me to verify before I use the web shell. So I think, so user AS, are you logged in right now? So enter your picoctf password. I'm going to paste it in and then press enter. Okay, so if you're logged in, I'm not too sure what you would do to verify, but you probably just need to log in, provide your username and password. All right, so I've got my wave a flag directory over here. I'm going to delete it just so I can show you how to make it one more time. So to create the directory, you're going to do mkdir, and then the name of the directory you want to create is going to be wave a flag. And then afterwards you do ls, and then you see there's the wave a flag directory in here. Okay, and the next thing you want to do is you want to enter the directory by doing cd wave a flag. So if you do pwd and you see that you're in your wave a flag directory, please type in the chat, ready to go. So user AS, if you could report back and tell me if you managed to log into your web shell, that would be great. User RH says, "Can you start from the top of the shell again?" Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how to log into the web shell one more time. So I'm going to close this out, and then so to log into the web shell after you've logged in, there's going to be a button. There's going to be a button on the left-hand side. Wait, the right-hand side that says web shell over here. You just need to click on that, and then you're going to need to click on this button right here, which is labeled, which looks like a box with an arrow. You click on that, and then it's going to put the web shell in its own browser tab. You need to enter your picoctf username and password. So my username is this. Oh, it's the. And then I have to put in my password. I'm going to grab my password and then paste it in. Paste in the password and press enter. Okay, so what's going on in chat? User IJ says, all my files from previous challenges are confusing me. Is it okay if I delete some? Yes, you can. So I'll show you how to delete some directories. So if you've got a directory over here, or if you've got a file that you want to delete, you just have to use the rm command. So it's going to be rm-r, and that's going to let you delete directories as well. And then you give the name of the file or directory. So in my case, I could delete my collab. Actually, collab, and that's going to delete that directory, and then we see that it's not there anymore. Okay, user CT says, when I type, it shows all the previous directories from the past sessions. So that's fine if you want to keep your directories and files from the past sessions, but we're going to be working inside of our wave a flag directory. So I'm going to delete it and then show you all how to create it one more time. Wave a flag. So what you want to do is you want to make directory, wave a flag, and then you want to use the cd command to enter the directory. And now what we're going to do is we're going to download the file. So we need to go back to our picoctf page, and let me grab the challenge page one more time. So it is over here. I'll copy that, and then I'll supply it to everybody in chat. Okay, so go over to your picoctf page, and then click on the URL bar, the address bar, and then paste in the challenge, and then we're here. So this is the Wave of Flag challenge, and the description says, can you invoke help flags for a tool or binary? This program has extraordinarily helpful information. All right, so everybody, if you want to race to see if you can get the flag before I demonstrate to everybody how to get the flag, you can go ahead and try to solve the challenge before I solve the challenge. So the first thing you need to do is you need to download the file. So as usual, what you want to do is you want to highlight the link for the file, and it's going to be the this program text. And you want to right-click and select copy link address. So after you right-click, select copy link address, and that's going to copy the link. And then you can go back to your web shell, and you're in your Wave of Flag directory, and then you're going to use the wget command. So wget space, and then paste in the URL, and then hit enter. So everybody, if you manage to solve the challenge before I do, please let us know in the chat so I can give you your kudos. Okay, so this file is called warm, and if we ls, we see that warm is inside. This file is in our directory right here, and so what we want to do is, okay, so user F says, it says I haven't verified in a long time, so I can't go to practices. Can't go to practices. Oh, verified. Okay, so it says verified. I think what it means is that you have to go to your email, and you want to look for, yeah. So you have to go to the email address that you used to sign up for the picoctf account. And what you need to do is you need to click on the link inside of one of the emails. It's going to be from picoctf, and you need to click on the link in the email, and it's going to verify the account, and then then you can go back to the practice. Okay, so please ask so if you used your own email to open the account, you can look inside your email account. But if you used your parents' account, then you're going to have to get your parents to help you open up that email. Okay. Okay. So there's this file in here, and it says it's called warm. And so if we try to run this file, and to run the file, we just need to do /. So it's going to be /warm. And user CT says, when I put rm r wave of flag, it says no file or directory. Okay, that just means that the directory doesn't exist, so you don't have to delete it. Okay, so if we try to do /warm to run the file, it's going to say permission denied. And does anybody know why it says permission denied over here? If you have an idea, please let us know in chat. So user LC says no sudo. User IJ says wrong user. Okay, user F says, can you start from the beginning? I just got my verification back. User NC says because it's not in sudo. Okay, so the kind of one kind of annoying thing inside of Linux is that sometimes when you download executable files, and what this is an executable file, if you use the file command, and you can use the file command to identify the contents of a file. So you just do the file command with the name of the file, so file warm. It says that this is an executable file right here. So what you need to do is you need to grant permission to the file to be executable. So you can do so with the following command. It's going to be chmod, so it's change mode and then you're going to do +X for plus executable, and then the name of the file, which is called warm. So it's change file permissions, change mode, +X, and then the name of the file, warm. So after you do that, when you do ls, you should see that the name of the file has changed to green over here, which means that it's an executable file. So it's executable now, so you can run the file by doing // and then the name of the file. So it's going to be /warm, and when you run the file, it says, hello user, pass me a -h to learn what I can do. So if it asks you to pass it a .h, we should probably pass it a .h. So we can run the same file again, but we can give the -h for help flag, and then it's going to give us some more information. Okay, so when you run the -h, then it's going to say, oh help, I actually don't do much, but I have this flag here, and it's got picoctf, and then biscuits and gravy, and this is the flag. So user F. Okay, I'll explain one more time. In fact, there are a couple of users that that want me to explain from the beginning, so I'll do this challenge from the beginning one more time. But for the people who who don't need help, what you can do is just copy the flag over here, highlight it, and then right-click, copy, and then go over to the challenge page, and then paste in the flag and click on Submit Flag. Okay, so everybody, let me demonstrate how to do this challenge one more time. So inside the web shell, so I'm going to back out, and then I'm going to remove the directory so I can demonstrate how to create the directory again. So the first thing you want to do is you want to use the make directory command, and then we're going to make the directory wave a flag, and then we enter the directory with cd wave a flag. Okay, and after we've entered the directory, we see that there's nothing in here. We're going to grab the file, and in order to grab the file, we need to get the link. So to get the link, we're going to go to the picoctf challenge page, and this is the link for the challenge page. What you need to do is you need to go over to the link, and it says this program. On that text, you right-click and you select copy link address. So right-click on the link and then select copy link address. That's going to copy the link. Go back to your web shell and then type wget. That's the command we use to download files. And then right-click and select paste. And then press enter. That's going to download the file. So we see we've got the warm file in here. If we use file to see what kind of file it is, we see that this is an executable file. But if we try to run the file by doing /warm, it says permission denied because the file is not executable. So we can see the permissions for the file by doing ls-la, and the warm file over here doesn't have the X over here, so it's not executable. So in order to make this file executable, we have to use the change mode command, chmod, and then we have to add +X, and then we have to supply the name of the file, which is warm. So it's chmod space +X space warm. So run that, and then we see that the file has changed color when we do ls. And we see that if we do ls-la, we see that there's an X here, which means we can execute the file now. So to execute the file, it's /warm, and it says, hello user, pass me a -h to learn what I can do. -h is usually for help, and we can just do /warm one more time, but we're going to do -h for help. User NC says, mine says it can't access warm no such file or directory. Okay, so that means that you might not have downloaded the file. So I want you to do ls. And if you do ls, you should see the file warm in the directory. If you don't, you need to download the file with wget. But if you do see it, then I want you to run the file by doing /warm. So / means something in the current directory, and we have to run it with -h. And then it says, oh, help, actually don't do much, but I do have this flag here, and it's going to have the flag right here. So just copy the flag, right-click, copy, and then go back to the challenge page, paste in the flag, and then click on Submit Flag. Okay, so everybody, if you managed to solve the challenge, please type in the chat, wave a flag, and then some smiley faces. Okay, so the second challenge, if you're still having problems with solving the challenge, I'll help you after the session is over. But okay, so some people were having some problems with the challenge, but I'll help you out after the session is over. We're going to move on to our second challenge, and the second challenge is called useless. So useless is not a useless challenge, but let's solve it now. So this challenge involves logging in with SSH, so this is a good opportunity to practice using the SSH program again. So everybody, this is the link. Maybe we shouldn't navigate to the link right away. What we should do first is go back to our web shell, and we're going to go to our home directory. So it's going to be cd with nothing else, and that's going to put us in our home directory. If we do pwd, it says home and then our name. And then we're going to create the use. Actually, we don't need to create a directory for this challenge, because we're going to log in with SSH. So everybody, let's go over to the challenge. And let me grab the link for the challenge. So on the challenge page, it says useless. So this is a medium level challenge. It's not really a medium level challenge, but for some reason it says it is. The description here says there's an interesting script in the user's home directory. Additional details will be available after launching your challenge instance. So everybody here, what we need to do is we need to launch the challenge. So some of these challenges ask us to create the challenge virtual machine. It's called a VM, and it's a computer that runs in the cloud. We can launch it by clicking on the Launch Instance button. And then we just have to wait a couple seconds, and then we're going to get some extra information. So it says that the work computer is running SSH. We've been given a script which performs some basic calculations. Explore the script and find a flag. So we've got some information here. We've got a host name, we've got a port number, and we have a username, as well as a password. We can use all this information together to use the SSH program to log into this computer. So if anybody remembers how to use the SSH program, so first of all, what I want you to do is I just highlight all this right here. So from Saturn until the end of the port number here, highlight that, and then select copy, and then go over to your web shell. From here, what I want you to do is type SSH, and then after that, I want you to paste in this info. Oh, okay, so maybe that's not what you want to do. Hold on. Okay, so you want to SSH and then space and then saturn.picoctf.net. So just make sure that the spelling is correct, saturn.picoctf.net, and then we want to supply the port number. So the port number is going to be this right here. So your port number is going to be different from my port number. Just make sure that you're using your port number. So highlight it and select copy, go back to the web shell, and then do -p space, and then paste in the port number. User www says, mine says permission denied. Well, let me, what command were you trying to do when it says permission denied? Please let me know, user www. Okay, so it's going to be SSH. What we need to do first is we need to supply the username. So it's going to be Pico Player. Pico Player, all one word. And then we have to use the @ symbol. So the full command is going to be SSH space Pico Player at saturn.picoctf.net space -p and then your port number. Your port number and my port number are going to be different. Okay, so after you've completed the whole command over here, press enter, and then it's going to ask us, do you want to continue connecting? You answer yes, and then it's going to ask for the password. So the password is password. The password is password. That's very simple. So we need to go back to our shell, web shell, and then type in password, and then press enter, and we should be logged in. So if you ask, who am I? It says you're Pico Player. Okay, so if you've managed to successfully log in, please type, who am I? I'm Pico Player. Okay, user F says, please repeat from the beginning. I got lost at the first command. Okay, so the first command is, let me exit so I can demonstrate one more time. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to use the picoctf command to log in. It's going to be it's going to be SSH space Pico Player at saturn.picoctf.net, and it's going to be -p, and it's going to be whatever port you have inside of your description here. So if you don't see this information, especially the port number right here, if you don't have this port number, it's because you didn't start up your virtual machine, and you can start up the virtual machine by clicking on the blue button. If the button's red, then you should have this information. But if the button's blue, I want you to click on the blue button, and then after a couple of seconds, this information is going to appear, okay? Okay, so user www says you used this command. Oh, you need a -p. So user www, you need a -p after picoctf.net. You have to do -p and then the port number. So -p space and then the port number. Okay, user A says, I typed the password and even copy and pasted it, but it still says permission denied. Okay, so there's a couple of things you need to check. So you need to check that the port number is correct. Please don't use my port number. Please use the port number that you see on your description page right here. And it's probably going to be different. To ensure that you're copying it correctly, you should right-click and copy it, and then paste it. And you also want to make sure that you've got Pico Player and then the @ symbol. This is important. And then saturn.picoctf.net. This part is also important. You need to include the -p, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, user LC says, wrong password for me, I don't know why. So if it says wrong password, the password is always going to be password. What you can try is you can try you can try highlighting this password right here and then right-clicking and then select copy. And then when it asks for the password, right-click and select paste and then press enter. So user LC, I want you to try copying the password and then pasting it in. Okay, user LC is in. Great, great. Okay, so if anybody's still having a problem, we'll solve your problem after the session is over. So the session is going to end pretty soon. All right, so everybody, once we're logged in, we do ls, and we see that there's a file in here. It's an executable file called useless. So what we can do is we can read the file by using the cat command. So first of all, we could use file to find out what kind of file this is. So file useless. It says it's a born again shell script. So a shell script is just a bunch of commands all put together. That's what a script is. So a script is basically a bunch of different commands that are all put together. So in order to read this, we can use the cat command. So cat useless. And we see that it is a script file. So, and this right here indicates that this is a script file, hash exclamation point bin bash. And this tells us that it's a basic mathematical operations via command line inputs. This is what the script does. It's basically a calculator program. User RH says how to unfreeze again. So if you are frozen, you can use Control-C. So the Control-C keyboard shortcut will usually unstick your terminal. User D says I pasted the password in, but it still says permission denied. Okay, so user D, please give me the please copy and paste the SSH command you used to log in, and I'm going to see if there's anything wrong with the command. Okay. Okay, but for everybody else, so at the bottom of the output over here, it's going to say at the bottom here, it says read the manual. So read the manual is the clue for this challenge. Remember, okay, so one thing that, okay, user D, what you need to do is you need to include the @pico player. So let me give you a reply over here. Pico. So user D, please put Pico player @ in front of the Saturn.picoctf, and it should work. Okay, so it's talking about the manual. So this is referring to another type of help that you can get for any of these commands, and that's the manual command. So the manual command, so for example, you can do manual cat, so man cat, and this is going to give you the manual for the cat command. So this is basically a longer version of the help flag. And you can, it says here more. If it says more there, then you can press the space bar to page down in the output. So page down, and then you can see all of the manual over here. So you can also do man ls to see the manual for the ls command. And so this is the manual for this particular command. It tells you how to use it. So you can just keep on pressing space to go through all of that. So what it said inside the script is that you're supposed to use the manual for the useless command. So you can do man useless, and then it gives you some output. It says how to use the script. So for example, useless add 1, 2 is going to add number 1 and number 2, return 3, and it does all this. But if you press the space bar, then it's going to give you a flag at the end of the output over there. So all you need to do is you need to copy the flag and submit that as the answer for the challenge. All right, so just right-click and copy. Then go over to the challenge page and paste in the flag, click on Submit Flag, then you're done. All right, so everybody, if you managed to finish that challenge, please type in the chat I read the manual. Okay, and to the people who are stuck, I'll try to help you out after the session is over. So right before we finish the session, I'm going to point out some, so inside of the same link right here, we've got all of our challenges that we covered today, as well as YouTube videos that you can watch to try to solve the challenges in case you aren't able to do it in the session. I'll provide the link to that in the chat. Okay, so at the end of this link right here, there's another link right here that also leads to Reddit. And this is for Linux education resources. So today is the last one. Today is the last session we're going to do for Linux. And on Friday, we're going to be starting up our Python programming sessions. So that's going to be going for a while. But if you want to learn more about Linux, you can go to this link right here. So I'm going to put this in a new tab. And this link has a bunch of different links for some Linux education resources. So go ahead and check some of these out if you're interested in learning more about Linux. So there's a couple of YouTube video courses. There is the Hack the Box Academy one over here. You're going to need to sign up for these websites if you don't have an account. But what I would say is that if you can get a Codecademy account, then these courses right here, there's no links right here, but you can search for these courses after you've created an account for Codecademy. They're very good. So you can search for these courses over here. All right, so everybody, thank you very much for coming to today's session. If you need help, please stick around and I'll try to help you out. But if you don't need help, please come back on Friday at the same time and we'll be starting up our next course. It's going to be Linux programming. Sorry, it's going to be Python programming. Python programming basics. We'll try to go slow and we'll try to explain as best we can about how to do programming in Python, which is a very popular programming language. So if you don't need help, feel free to leave the call and we'll see you next time. But if you want to ask some questions, go ahead and ask the questions in the chat. If you need help, please let us know in the chat that you need help and we'll try to get to you. We'll go in order of who messages first. So user D will be first. Let me end the live stream and then we can